I'm so glad that you're here, that you're watching, that you're safe at home or wherever you are. If you're at the park, if you're at the school, if you're at the Holiday Inn, wherever you are, I'm glad that you're watching this right now in this moment. We are on the live with Larry Antiporda. He's a professional sales athlete, and and today we are just going to be covering some dope sauceness. I feel like is this May? I feel like the month of May is like sales month. With all the guests that I have coming on, I have some cool people. I have someone super awesome next week, Grant Eilerton coming on next week. I had Van last week. I have you this week, and then there's a top secret. I might be putting on a special event with Brad, maybe. We'll see. The super top secret. So we'll see we'll see what happens there. But just some awesome sales killers in the house here. So met Larry long time ago, I would say almost 2 years ago. We joined up. Say it again.
Felt like a century ago. I feel like we've been lifelong friends now.
I know we've been lifelong friends. What's up, Brent? We got Brent on the line here.
What's up, Brent?
Larry and I have been in multiple programs together. We work together at an agency, and we also have been business partners in a sense. And so I'm super excited to have him on here because he is in the forefront. I would say that Larry is in the top tier of sales professionals in the digital marketing and agency space. I know for certain that some of his coaches and mentors are aligned with giants, and so Larry is as well. And I'm super excited for him to share a little bit about his journey and how the sales world is changing, and what the future of selling really looks like. If you're on here live or if you're on the replay, give me a hashtag Larry Live. And if you're on the replay, go ahead and go replay with Larry. And Larry, I'm going to turn it over to you and just give you a sandwich and let you kind of share a little bit about your journey, how you ended up doing what you're doing now, and how you serve people.
Absolutely, man. Well, first off, I just want to acknowledge you, Michael. Thank you for that amazing intro. You know, one of the biggest things that I've always learned from my sales coach, Brad, was my life is the people in my life. My life is the people in my life. So really, I wouldn't be at this place or even, you know, who I am without my mentors, without my coaches. I'm nothing without those guys. And so I want to acknowledge my coaches and my mentors who've helped me along the way. And really, I'm just getting started. So a little bit about my journey, right? I have been in the digital marketing space for a few years now. I actually got into it like the ripe age of like 18 years old. So I remember I was like first getting into affiliate marketing, and I was like trying to figure out like, dude, what is this internet thing? And so really my first version of Larry Antiporda was actually a digital marketer, not a sales pro athlete. Funny enough.
Classic.
And so how I got started was I was that kid that was just like super excited, super passionate about entrepreneurship. And I always wanted to figure out a way to make money online. Right. And so when I was like 18 years old, I was like trying to dive into like the affiliate thing, like ClickFunnels, had no idea what the hell I was doing. I would buy like these like $47 courses that like got me nowhere. And I probably bought like 5 of those when I was like 18.
Yeah. If you've bought a course that you never used or didn't get any success with, drop a comment below and go course fiend.
Yeah.
Drop a hashtag course fiend.
Course fiend down there. Cause that's
down
what
below.
Dude. I was a course fiend. So I went through that challenge of like going through courses, and don't get me wrong, they worked because not necessarily because like all the great things that they were teaching me, but because I was making an investment in myself. So really it was just doubling down and getting serious about wanting to be a digital marketer. And so when I was 19 years old, I actually opened up my first like e-commerce store. And it's funny, I don't really tell people this side of my story because I'm so much in love with the game of sales that digital marketing doesn't really like play a role in that as much. But it was what got me started, right? So I opened up my own streetwear, like Shopify store, was doing the whole drop shipping model. And I was like a 19-year-old, like in my college dorm, making like $100 sales while I'm in class. So I'm like, dude,
Wow.
why am I going to be in class when I could just build my Shopify store? So
Yeah.
I was like selling all these like different streetwear clothing, really started to learn Facebook ads, got just in love with the digital marketing world. And so when I was 19, I was like, okay, well, I want to continue doing this. So went through a couple of different like corporate jobs, worked like tech sales, but always in the back of my pocket, in my tool pocket, as my mentor Brad would say, right? The tool pocket.
Yes. The
I
tool
started to
pocket.
realize that, wait, I'm in love with sales more than I am with digital marketing. And so what happened was I started transitioning into the online sales, or what I like to call digital sales world. And let's just fast forward a little bit here. And now I'm in a position where I took my digital marketing like know-how and my passion for it, but I really tapped into my superpower, which is enrollment and sales. And now I'm like super locked in on just helping business owners, agency owners, digital entrepreneurs just get their next like 100 sales, their next 100 enrollment. I think that's my mission, right? So really,
Ooh,
who I
that's
service,
juicy.
yeah,
Super juicy.
who I'm really servicing are those digital entrepreneurs, right? I want to be that quote unquote number two for people, right? Being able to not necessarily be like the face of like that 2 Comma Club award, but being the engine that helps those entrepreneurs do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And okay, that's so awesome. So to wrap it up, to just kind of compress all of what you just shared, started out. How old are you now?
So I'm 23.
23, young guy, 23. But started out 17, started buying some courses, started getting into e-com around 18, 19, was just like, I want to go all in on this, started getting some sales gigs with some tech companies, and then just like found your way into just doing straight up digital sales, removing everything else, and focusing solely on that, only 5 years later. And I'm curious, what had you kind of decide that was like, how did you know that was your superpower?
Such a great question, dude. So what's funny is, I had this like false belief that I could be like good at everything. And so like as an entrepreneur, because I had my own like entrepreneurship ventures, right? I had my own agency. I grew that to 17,000 like the first month. But what I realized was, there were certain things about the business that I wasn't like super passionate about. And that's fine. I realized that how I came into my superpower was I took all the things that I realized like I just would add massive value in my business, which was like sales and enrollment. And I was like, dude, why don't I just double down on that? Because the other things that I wasn't that good at, which was like more of the fulfillment side, I was like spending too much time because I like had to. And really my philosophy was like, dude, how can I provide so much more service to the market? Like what value can I give to people that is going to be tenfold what I'm doing now? And the answer that always popped in my head was sales. I was like, why am I spending 10 hours in sales and 40 hours in fulfillment when really the most value that I'm adding to people, the most service I'm adding to people is sales? So why not just 4x the amount of time that I'm spending in what I can truly add value to the market? Right.
I want to dig in here. So you just said the most value that I can provide to people is sales. Now, could you expand on what you mean when you say the service you provide is sales?
Yes. So the service that I provide is sales. The reason why that's my service. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So the way that you made it sound is that the people that you were enrolling, that's the service you're providing to them is sales.
Yes.
Does that make sense? What I'm asking now?
Yes, I love it.
Can you talk about that? Because I think that's something that is like, that's so juicy right there, that the service that you provide to people that you enroll is you're providing them with the sales.
Yes, dude. So here's the thing. I think what's going to give this really a lot of good context and why it's so important to dive into this is because I had a old false belief of how I thought about sales. And then this is my new philosophy that I've learned from my mentors and coaches. The old philosophy that I used to have was sales was like sleazy. Like sales was just a part of the job that I had to do to make money. And then I had to like trick people, persuade them, convince them. Didn't really feel good about that model. So I didn't really see it as a service. The new way, and really my philosophy behind sales is a sacred space, guys. All right. For anyone out there who might feel like sales is sleazy, here's how I would invite you to think about it. So sales is sacred because what you're doing is you're creating a space, a container for people to make a powerful decision that's going to lead to their transformation. So when I step in fully and when I step into that service, I'm literally helping someone make a decision and have a conversation that they wouldn't have an opportunity otherwise. I am that bridge to their new world. And so I have to show up powerfully so that these people can step in the right direction into their new version of themselves. Does that make sense?
It does. Say it again for me, though.
Yeah, and just to it's because really this is why it's such a service-based business. Why a lot of what I used to think was, to be honest, I think it's wrong now because sales is not a transaction. That's just like the physical mechanism of what sales is. But when you really dig deep into the spirit of what sales is, what it is it's just at the end of the day transformation. All I'm doing is bringing out the best version of who you are, helping you realize that, step into that person for just that one quick minute. And in that one quick minute, you make a decision that actually changes the trajectory of your life, your business, your income, and all other parts of, who we are as human beings.
That is so amazingly powerful. Just want to take a pause here. We are on here with Larry Antiporda, and he is just a sales athlete, professional. And if you want to connect with him further, you just hit him up on the facebook.com/Lantiporda. So it's L Antiporda with a D 408. So that'll be in the comments down below as well later on. But if you want to connect with him, that's how you do it. All right, I'm gonna hide this for a second. Okay, so Larry, let's dig into this whole thing a little bit deeper. So what was like, okay, so you were talking about this a little bit. So you said like, now I think what I was doing before is wrong. So like, what are some of the lessons that you learned that transition from sales is sleazy, sales is like something that is like a transaction? And what lessons did you learn to have you start thinking about it as this service-based business, a service-based skill?
Yeah. So some big lessons that I had to learn along my own journey. One big lesson that I learned is sales is just the mastery of self, right? Sales is really just the mastery of self. So what I mean by that is when you are able to figure out your own whatever problems, challenges, blocks in your own energy, right? That makes enrollment easier because we are just a reflection of each other. Like human beings, we all think and feel in similar ways, maybe not the same exact ways, but we all can have a similarity. And so what I had to really do was I had to, one, get my own power back into my life before anything else, right? And so once I started mastering myself, I was able to show up into sales conversations fully focused on the other person, which might kind of seem like a little bit of a dichotomy, right? It's like, oh, you master yourself and then all of a sudden you're helping other people. Well, here's the thing. The biggest roadblock for me back in the day was I used to just get in my own way, right? If you're branding a song for anyone out there who might feel anxious or anxiety during a sales call, which is perfectly fine. It's human. It's human, defense mechanism.
Nature.
Yeah, it's human nature. But
Why?
what I
Why?
go ahead.
No. Sorry. Go on. I was singing
Yeah.
human nature.
So what I started realizing was when I just really started understanding why I would have those anxieties and like uncover them, I could start actually thinking about the other person so much more because I understand that they had anxiety too. They were saying that they were feeling the same exact feelings. So once I started working on myself, I realized that, hey, if I just focus on controlling my own energy, then the energy of the other person that I can go in and have that conversation with is going to be able to reflect that. And I don't know, we might be going a little bit woo woo here, but I really view sales as more like a, not necessarily a spiritual experience, but an energetic experience. Like sales really is just the transference of energy. So if your energy is on point because you've done the self mastery, you're going to be able to help the other person's energy get on point as well and lock in, right?
Hmm. Got it. So really just self-mastery is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
In sales, you gotta be self-mastered. And then once you're mastered, then you have others to take on that energy, make a bold choice for themselves in their own journey of self-mastery and business mastery.
Exactly. Because I'll give you guys some concrete examples, right? So a lot of times when I was like first starting out in sales, here were the thoughts that were going in my head, which was, what do I got to say? How do I say it like this? Or am I going to get this close? Am I going to, say this thing right at that right exact time that's going to get that sale? So a lot of it is like me focused. So once I started focusing on like, okay, let's tone that down. Like, is there an actual problem that I can help this person solve in the first place? Right? Like what problem is this person solving? What's their dream vision looking like? Why am I taking the action to go ahead and just do this already? So when I started thinking about who the other person was and putting my energy and focus there, it just made the actual enrollment so much easier and frictionless. Right.
Yeah. Just like restating that so that I want to make sure everyone listening is understanding. It's like his focus, your focus was on me. And then when he started focusing on you, they, that's when there was a shift. And
Exactly.
then, Larry, you were actually able to be inside of their world because you weren't stuck in your own mind, dealing with your own worries, nervousness, anxiety, baloney.
Baloney.
And then
Right.
you were able to really just like be with them and be with, what's the problem that they're facing. So that's super powerful. I think that's something that everyone can take away, and you just want to start becoming super aware of your thoughts.
Right.
Like
No
that's
block.
probably the biggest lesson inside of that little snippet. It's like be aware of your thoughts. Because if you're thinking about yourself, and you're thinking about me, and you're worried about yourself, then there's no way that you can show up powerfully to be with someone else.
Exactly. And I wanted to find that real quick because self mastery is not about, you know, you focus. It's about like getting yourself out of the way. Right. And so what I mean by self mastery is taking out all those things that are blocking you from getting to that goal, which is like your own like inner talk, your own anxiousness, your own anxiety. Self mastery is being able to silence that voice. Makes sense.
Mm,
But at least
yeah.
I see it, right?
Yeah. Interesting. I never think about it as like silencing the inner voice, but just like letting the inner voice just like flow away and melt into nothingness.
Yeah. No, that's true. I
But
think it's
to
like
each their own.
like lower self, right? So that the inner truth, perfection within us actually can speak, right?
Yeah. And Larry, I want to do something now that we didn't have planned. I didn't prepare you for this.
Uh-oh.
So I know that you do a lot of like breath work to bring your energy in to bring your energy into the sale, into the service that you're providing. And
Yeah.
on this interview, I'm feeling this weird energy, man. I feel like our energy is like dipped. And
Yes.
so I need to call in the breath. I need to call in your breath work, and I need you to bring our energy back in.
Cool, dude. Let's do it. I love that idea. So, first things first. If you guys are out there participating in this on the replay, like, feel free to do this. I practice a couple different breath works, and I'll actually like literally do these during sales calls. Wim Hof is one that's like, popularized, things like that. I do some meditation breath work as well, but just for like the purpose of this, like, let's say the scenario is I'm on a sales call and I literally feel like I'm slipping or I'm being aware that the energy is low. Here's what I'll do. Like, I will literally stand up. Right. So let's stand up, Michael.
Okay.
Let's stand up. Of this like breath work. I'm gonna put my like actual arms into my shoulders or my hips right here. And what I'm going to do is 3 big breaths in and out. So deep breath in.
Oh, shit.
Do that 2 more times. And then the last one, let's do 1 more. We hold it in for 15 seconds.
Okay.
Let out. And now we can sit down, but really just, I don't know about you, but right from there, what I'm feeling is like my attention's back, right? I'm back in energy mode, right?
Yeah.
And so just even getting that breath, and I think that was such a great example because, for example, I've been on back-to-back calls since like 7:30 this morning and it's already 1:30 here. That's like a quick ninja hack that if you're literally like catching yourself slip in energy, literally mute yourself real quick, even if it's like 3 quick breaths. With breath, you just get that focus back, energy back, and then you can continue our conversation.
Boom. That's how you bring the energy back. Energy back. Boom. Okay. So, dude, let's talk about. So, I loved everything you shared so far. And if you're listening in, we got Larry Antiporda on here. If you want to connect with him, just go to facebook.com/LANT as in Tony, IPORDA408. That's how you connect with him.
Yep.
He's dope as hell. Super cool guy. Everybody wants to be his friend. I don't even know how I'm his friend, but it's amazing. So I want to dig in. I want to talk a little bit more broadly about how is the sales world changing? Like, what are we facing right now? And like, why is it important that people adapt and change with it?
Yeah, great question. So this is actually what I've learned from, a new program that I've enrolled in, and it's Jeremy Miner's concept of the new eras of selling. So I highly recommend you guys follow Jeremy Miner. He has YouTube, he has Facebook group set up, but really what this concept is the evolution of how sales is starting to unfold, right? So just like how people get marketing fatigue when they keep seeing the same ad over and over, and how digital marketing has had to evolve from like newspapers.
Oh, yeah.
Sales is taking a similar evolution. And the problem that I used to have was I didn't realize that like sales is really changing. Like you kind of have this intuition, something's happening, but until someone really gives it context, your awareness to it is maybe under the radar. And so Jeremy Miner was really one of the first people to really give context to how sales is changing. And so go ahead.
Before we do that, can we talk about how sales has not changed and give context to that? Because there are, so when I first started learning like really like over the phone sales and like online sales, I was learning this system of sales that you're about to talk about, these like 3 levels.
Yeah.
But up until just last year, 2018, and there are people today, let's actually talk about this. There are people right now, today, that are studying sales models and sales training that was written between 1890 and 1960s.
Yes.
Like, people are still using tactics and strategies that were invented over 50 years ago, and
Yeah.
some of them up to over 120 years ago, that they're being used today, and people are still following them like gospel. And
Yeah.
I know for myself, like 2 years ago, and I'm not, and listen, I think that everything has merit, right? And I
Yeah.
think there's like, and we're about to talk about this, but 2 years ago, I remember I read Closer's Survival Guide, and I was like, oh man, these closes are fire, right? Grant Cardone, Closer's Survival Guide, great book, a lot of great closes in there. But looking back on it now, after learning some of the things that we're about to talk about in this new era of selling, it's like, whoa, I can't believe that I was like so convinced that this was like the right way to do it, even though it felt weird and it felt a little inauthentic and it felt like it was just like, felt like I was beating my face against a wall trying to learn these tactics. And then like 2 years later, now I'm just tapping into a circle of people who has this whole new mentality about it that makes way more sense about how people's brains work. And I'm just like astounded at it because there's so many people, and maybe there are even some people on here that we can have a breakthrough with, but people that are just like stuck in an old way and don't even realize that's old way. And I just want to put that into context that like people are following sales models that worked 50 years ago. And my question is, like, if you bought a microwave 50 years ago, is it going to work the same way if you're trying to make a bag of popcorn in, in 2020? Probably not. Probably not. That might not be a good example, but like you understand. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, Larry, dive into it.
Talking about that, because that's something like I'm super passionate about, because I've learned how to sell each era of selling. Right. I've gone in my sales journey. I literally started out in era 1, era 2, and then now I'm in era 3. But why that happens is because it's a game of follow the leader. Like, you can only mimic what the leaders in the space are teaching. So what
Yeah.
happens is the leaders in the space from 2000 to 2012 were leaders who learned how to sell in the 80s and 90s. So there's that gap, right? That 20-year gap. Well, back in the day, that was fine because it would still be relevant for the next 30 or 40 years. But because of technology, consumers are getting smarter. They're changing faster than ever before. So sales have to adapt. And the problem is most aren't. And so real quick, before I go into that, does that make sense? Because I want to dive into like each era of selling and what I've learned from Jeremy. But does that, you follow me so far, or is that kind of?
Dude, that makes sense. Yeah, there's like a gap. There's like there's a significant gap between the last working sales model and today's consumer.
Exactly. Like, here's another analogy, right? Imagine if you're a college student right now and it's like 2020, your professors are trying to teach you the latest and greatest in marketing, and they're telling you how to run like billboard ads, which, I mean, they probably still work. That's why people invest in them, but they're teaching you stuff that works not in this era. And the reason why is because
they're teaching you about newspaper ads.
Exactly, because the reason that's happening is because they have been long ass process of getting the curriculum in place, professors like having to learn the curriculum, that getting approved, and then they got to teach the class. So what it is it's just that same exact model, that there's this huge lag time between getting from the leaders and what worked for them to teaching in this new era. So by the time they start teaching the students of this new era, it's already too late, right? Because of technology.
Yeah.
So technology has made that learning curve or that gap have to force to shorten. So really, era 1, what that's focused on is more of the persuasive, convincing presentation, right? So about 84% of people are still actually selling in era 1, while consumers are in era 3. So could you see
Okay,
how it's
you gotta dive more deeply into what the eras are, and then also, I made this post in our Facebook group yesterday, and someone commented. He was like, he was just disagreeing with me that like era 2, which is consultative selling, and Larry's about to explain all 3 eras, but consultative selling is not lacking in a depth of understanding, and that if you really have your avatar honed in and you're getting booked appointments, really qualified people onto the call, then like you don't need to dive deeper into what people are facing. Something along those lines. I'm misquoting
yeah.
what he said, but I just want to put it out there that there's nothing wrong with these 3 different styles of selling. But what I am putting forth is that this new style, this new era of people and sales will become a predominant force in the next 10 to 15 years. And that it will be, and that right now, those old models work. And that's why they're still teaching them, because they work.
Yeah.
But there's just an easier way. There's an easier, more authentic way. And, and so I'm just putting that out there. That
Yeah.
and
It's a great caveat.
I'm okay to be wrong too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, hey, don't get me wrong. Like era 1 and era 2, era 3, they all work. I mean, I'm a personal testimony to that. Like I was able to sell still in era 1 and I was still able to sell in era 2. It's just the question is how easy do you want it to be in terms of your conversation, right?
Okay,
like,
real quick for people, break down what the eras are. Break down the eras.
Yeah. So era 1 is really more focused on what they were teaching in like the 50s and 60s. So presentation, like always be closing, like it's more focused on how your presentation and your product, right, and the features and benefits it is for that person. So a lot of this is like you telling the facts, you trying to educate customers on what they're doing. And so it's a lot of like you telling and showing. And so why it doesn't work as effective in today's economy is because every consumer can know about your product and have that information and they know their problem like this because of the internet, right? And so really the difference that we want to make is like we just want to adapt to consumers. Like we don't want to rehash information that they could already just get on Google. Let's add more value in services salespeople. So really 84% still are in that presentation mode. That's how I actually first started learning how to sell. And it works. It works. I close deals like that. But what I went from there after learning era 1 was I started going to era 2, which was more consultation. So being able to understand and ask more questions, finding the logical standpoint, like what the numbers were, focused on them mostly speaking and me asking questions and consulting them, right? And about 15% of people are selling like this right now. So a lot of software companies sell like this, a lot of tech companies sell like this. This is how I learned how to sell in like MindBody and like Salesforce and tech companies, being able to like just consult them, right? Figuring out the big pain points, ask the right questions, and then position my offer in that way, right? So before I go into any more detail, is that making sense? Any like questions specifically on like some of the stuff I talked about, Michael?
Yeah, for era 2 for consultative selling, you need to know your customers in a way that you already know their greatest pain points, or you assume you know that their pain points before you get on the call, and those are the only problems that you can solve. It's the pain points that you've prepared, kind of.
Yeah.
Is that true or false?
So I definitely think there's a little bit of assumptive selling in consultative sales, like the era 2. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with necessarily assuming the sale.
I don't know.
But
I don't know anything. Here we go. Let's move on to era 3 here.
Yeah.
Let's move on to era 3.
It's just like for you to be able to like adapt how you want to adapt, right? Like you don't have to sell this new way. It's just Era 3, what it's really focused on is more about tapping into their psychology, right? So Jeremy's stuff is called NEPQ, neuro emotional, right? Persuasion questions. And so what it's more focused on is, instead of you trying to show and tell and persuade the actual client, you're asking the right skilled questions at the right time for them to persuade themselves. So it's a lot more emotion based, a lot more, 85% of the conversation on them and you just asking questions, them speaking. And so really just getting into the deep core of whether or not they even have a problem to be solved in the first place, and getting the emotion from the subconscious mind into the conscious mind to actually have a deeper conversation, right?
And I want to just keep throwing on caveats here. You have to be in integrity with people.
Yeah.
And so this new model of selling, this new era 3, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad. And that's just the truth. But so can everything. And it's really just up to you to decide the type of person you want to be. Like, do you want to be a person with powerful impact, or do you want to be a powerful manipulator? It's up to you.
You got to choose, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, this is some very powerful stuff, because really what it is just you're working with human behavior. Jeremy, who developed all this stuff, was really focused on, his background as a neuroscience, behavioral science background along with sales. So it's really just more focused on sales with the nice superpower of, the psychology and the neuro-linguistic aspect of things, right?
Yeah. So bottom line, let's wrap this section up here. Era 1, persuasion and assumptive and kind of aggressive sales tactics. This is your greasy car salesman. This is your just really just hard closing, always be closing, just boom, let's do the deal, right? Number 2, consultative selling, asking some questions to find out about just like problems that people are facing, and just like matching your offer to their pain points.
Yes.
Era 3 is just asking questions to find out if they have a problem, if you can solve the problem, and asking them. And then it's like sharing briefly about what you do to help them solve it, and then having them enroll if they choose.
Exactly. And here's the thing, Michael, is, for anyone out there, this is like the first time that you're hearing about this type of stuff. You don't have to accept it. But what I challenge you to think about is this, which is all these eras and methods work, just like newspaper, email, and messenger ads work. But the caveat is, are you adapting to the consumer? So marketing wise, like, there's still people getting results from, like, let's say mailers, right? But there's a more effective way out there. You might want to learn the messenger bots that people are doing, or you might want to learn how to use, video, Facebook ads, and use the VSL funnels, things like that. They all still work. At the end of the day, it's how willing are you to adapt to your consumer so that you can kind of spend less friction when it comes to your sales, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I don't know if you're listening out there, like, do you want to? Would you maybe consider like continuing to learn? Great quote, Jeremy Miner. We're all chatting about Jeremy Miner today. If you don't know who it is, go ahead and hit me up and I'll connect you with him. But he gave a great example when he was talking to, I'm not sure if he was talking to Google or not, or somebody. He was talking with somebody, a company, and they said, "Yeah, we've done all that sales training in the past. It doesn't really help that much." And he asked a question. It's basically, so if you take Michael Jordan or Kobe,
Yeah.
in their prime, and you ask them, did you train or are you training? It's
Mm.
right, and it's like, sorry, no, this is the question that he asked: is training something you did, or is training something you do?
You do.
Right? It's something you do
You do.
consistently over and over again. You're learning new skills, or you're just improving and honing your skills. Right. So anyone that's out there that's like already sales pro, crushing it in the sales game, I am by no means saying like throw out everything that you've learned, because that doesn't do anything. But the question is, what are you doing, if anything, to improve your sales abilities, generate your own appointments, create your own influence,
Yep.
become a strategic growth partner for the company that you work with, as opposed to just being another sales guy or gal? That's the real question. Like, what are you doing for it? There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. But that's the question. Now I have a question for you, Larry.
Cheers.
And we're on here. Well, we're on here before I get into that. We're on here with Larry Antiporda, and you can follow him and find out more about him at facebook.com/L Antiporda 408. And that'll
Yeah,
be
guys.
in the show notes or the whatever you
And
want to find.
that's the thing, guys. If what we're talking about like resonates with you, like comment down below #resonate, because if you want to learn more about this stuff, and you don't have to want to, but if you do, you know, Michael is one of the guys that's learning about this stuff right now, and he has a lot of the great resources for you. So feel
I'm
free to
going to
just
usher in an era.
go ahead.
Yeah, that sounds great. I said I'm going to usher in an era. If there's an era to be ushered in, I'm there to do it. I'm looking to be the shepherd of this new sales methodology.
Go, Shepard Rosenberg.
So let's talk about this, though. So, Larry, we kind of touched on this, but I want to hear your thoughts on this exact question.
Ooh,
What is the future of selling, and
yes.
what does it take to win in this new economy?
Yeah, dude. So here's how I see the future, and I might be right or might be wrong. I don't know. There's really a new sales movement out there. There's other guys that I talk to that also kind of really see something emerging from the digital marketing space, right? Because
Hmm.
just like how digital marketers and social media marketers and that wave came after Ty Lopez came out with a course, right? I believe 2020 and the next few years, we're going to start seeing an influx of these digital sales leaders, right? These digital sales pros. It's really combining the online world and the people who are, sales professionals in the more corporate setting. They're going to start seeing this nice opportunity emerging here, right, in the next 2 to 3 years. And people are going to want to take advantage of that. Because what I've seen is from the opportunity going from someone who's working at companies like Salesforce and Mindbody and working at those like tech bigger companies, is I realized I didn't have the time freedom, the leverage, and the autonomy that I wanted that kind of came with entrepreneurship. So with digital sales pros, what I just love about it, man, is you are your own boss. You're the entrepreneur of the sales world. I like to almost view myself as a salespreneur because I'm able to have the control, the freedom, and the autonomy to build the sales career that I want to build. And at the end of the day, when I'm building my sales brand, my sales business, that's for the long term, right? My income is not tied to one company because I have the full tools of a digital sales pro. I think you're on mute, bro.
Yeah, I was on mute. I said, whoa, 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 hold on. What do you mean that you have more tools than just sales
Yeah.
for one company? Wait. Are you telling me that you can make additional income that's outside of the company that you're working for currently as a sales professional?
Yes. Dude, I
Dude,
love
wait, what? How can
that.
you do that?
Dude, I
How do
love
you
it.
do that?
I love that DJ voice question because it's true as hell, dude. Like, here's the thing that I found is I thought I had to be stuck in the old paradigm of like you're only selling, like you're only closing deals, right? So you're really stuck in that sales rep role. The new world is really focused on how can I create value and service as a sales growth partner. So whether that's helping them gain more lead gen, or in my like future goal,
What is a sales growth partner?
yeah.
What
So
is that?
really, what the focus here is, you're coming into a team, and you're not just going to be able to add value through closing deals. You're going to be able to add value in through multiple expertise, whether that's helping them with lead gen, helping them with growing a sales team and training, helping with coaching, or let's say having systems in place when they don't have sales systems, coming in here and being more of a dynamic player. And so when you
Mm,
position yourself, when you have a brand, when you have authority, and most importantly the expertise to be able to do that stuff, you add more service to the company, so you're going to get paid out more, right? You're not just stuck in commission. So we're going to help you get more commission, bonuses, base, more income. Right? So you're really diversifying the income you can create as a digital sales pro.
mm, wow. So I think what I'm really hearing, and you tell me if I'm wrong or right, but
Yeah.
inside of businesses is no longer good enough to just be the inbound closer.
Yep.
Like it's no longer powerful enough to just sit, wait for people to hop onto the calendar and then get on calls and close people. Or where's that role come into all of this?
Yeah. So I want you guys to think about it like this, right? So we're changing the dynamic of how salespeople are being viewed in the market. Because if you just stay in like the inbound closer role, like you'll probably make a nice, like you can make anywhere from a 10K, even like some guys are making 12, 15K per month income. But if you actually change how you view your role as a sales growth partner, what you're going to be able to do is add additional revenue streams and still do your closing role. So let's say you're making $10,000 a month closing, but you have leveraged systems and extra value that you're adding to the company. Let's say you add another 10,000 just from being a lead gen machine for your sales team. So now you're making 20K per month as a sales pro. And best of all is you don't have margins, you don't have expenses as much as like the entrepreneur. So pretty much a lot of that is profit, right? So you're tapping in to the salespreneur mindset of being able to be the entrepreneur in your own business within a business without the extra expenses and extra responsibilities. So you're tapping into more income, and you're tapping into more highly leveraged systems to work for you as a sales athlete. So
This is so juicy. Before you get into the example, I just had like a brain blast. And if you're on here live, go ahead and drop tag hashtag drop a hashtag salespreneur connoisseur down in the comments.
that's a long one,
Okay.
dude.
Let me do okay, so go ahead and let me see. Go ahead and give your example. How do you spell connoisseur? I don't even know.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example, right? So think about this as like, there's a lot of talk about people productizing their service out there, right? You know how like a lot of agency owners and like high ticket coaches are going from like done for you one-on-one to like one to many productized service, right? So they can have more leverage and time to grow their business. Because there's a ceiling in place of entrepreneurs when they're just like one-to-one, right?
Yeah.
And so how they raise their income ceiling is by having leverage and by having systems. It's our favorite word, leverage.
Leverage.
Right? And so we're doing